I once asked the Hall of Fame goaltender Ken Dryden, when was the golden age of hockey? His answer, whatever you were watching when you were 12 years old. Well, when I was 12, Team Canada and the Soviet Union met for an 8-game summit series that was, and as far as I'm concerned, still is, the most important hockey series ever played. It all happened 50 years ago this month. One of Team Canada's goalies was Ken Dryden. He chronicles the events of a half-century ago in the series, what I remember, what it felt like, and what it feels like now. And Ken Dryden joins us now here in the studio. So great to have you back here again.
Thanks, Steve. Glad to be here.
When this, and we are sitting here on September 28th, 50 years to the day of Game 8. We'll get back to that in a little bit. But when they announced that this was all going to happen, were you anxious to be chosen for this team?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I had finished my first full year with the Canadians, and I had done well in the first couple of years, and this was big. I mean, this was going to be the biggest series that anybody had ever seen, and big because if you were a kid growing up around that time, and I was born in 1947, is that by the time I started to follow hockey, I was becoming aware of international hockey, and particularly it started in the mid-1950s, when in 1954 the Russians won the World Hockey Championship, and that was stunning because the Soviet Union had only started hockey 8 years earlier in 1946. They won, and when 1955 came around, that was a big deal because now we had to win it back. And it was the Penticton Vees that represented Canada, and Foster Hewitt flew to Europe to do the games. And Foster Hewitt didn't do that. I mean, that he was the voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mm-hmm. And of hockey in English Canada. But there he was on the radio, and I'm 7 years old, and I'm in the playground at Humber Valley School, and I'm listening to the final game, and that was big. And then we lost the next year in the Olympics in 56 in Cortina, but then we started to win. And Whitby Dunlops in 57, Belleville McFarland's, Trail Smoke Eaters. But then we started to lose, and we weren't going to win again. I mean, that the Europeans were becoming too good. The Soviets were becoming the best of the Europeans. And in the 80s, the national team was created by Father Bauer to attract a lot of the better juniors. But that proved not to be enough either. So when 1972 came around, this was the moment where, for all of those years, when we knew we were the best in the world and everybody knew that, but they were called the world champions, we finally had a chance, and so it was big.
Best on best, finally.
Finally.
Finally. Well, it was going to be an 8-game series, 4 here, 4 over there, and you get to start Game 1 in Montreal, and everybody assumes that it's going to be a cakewalk. And here's how you remember it. As described in your book, at some point, probably the day before the first game, Team Canada coach Harry Sinden told me I would play, but I don't remember. I don't remember flying to Montreal. I don't remember the day of the game. I don't remember the dressing room. All I remember is a feeling that kept building and building, growing and growing. Okay, what was different?
It was just, it was an excitement. I mean, and Montreal is an exciting place. Montreal is, and was at that time, is now the most exciting hockey place in the world. I had played in the Forum. I had played in the Stanley Cup Finals in the Forum.
So you should have been calm.
Well, I don't know whether I should have been calm, but I should have been used to the atmosphere.
Right.
And the noise of it all. But this kept, as I said, growing and building, and into unfamiliar territory, and of where you don't know what it's building to. You don't know what that means to you, how you're going to react to all of that, because that I hadn't been a part of, and as none of us had been. And when the opening ceremonies took place, and Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau dropped the puck. I mean, one of the classic little moments that demonstrated the feeling of it is that this was a ceremonial face-off. And whoever the Soviet player was, I have no idea, but it was Phil Esposito for us. And ceremonial face-offs, drop the puck. The home team captain just kind of gathers the puck up, picks it up, hands it to the honoree, and that's the end of it. You watch Phil Esposito, he whips it back. And later he says, I had to win that draw. Well, that's not how it happens, before, but that's what it felt like.
It showed you it was going to be a different kind of series.
Absolutely.